Pride and Prejudice, Chapter 7, third video. Well, I don't think in the last video we had a lot of different words, so I'll just go on to the continuation, next paragraph. I am astonished, my dear, said Mrs. Bennet, that you should be so ready to think your own children silly. If I wished to think slightingly of anybody's children, it should not be of my own, however. Okay, first we have slightly. Alright? Sorry, slighting, okay? Slighting is disrespectful and disparaging, alright? Keep in mind that slight is important. Slight is in the root of slighting. Here to see, there is a lesson where people can feel slighted by the social atmosphere, and then it means the person is going to feel excluded. Because other guys in the text, specific text here to say, the other guys have university diplomas and this guy doesn't. Okay, so that's the first context I want you to have. The second, I'll do differently. I'll give first the words and then the definition. Okay, the occasional feeling of being slighted at others underestimating my charms and talents. So probably we're talking about, I don't know, it comes from a book, but imagine it's a diary, right? And the person is talking about the occasional feeling of being slighted at others underestimating my charms and talents. So this person is feeling, I don't know, diminished, something like that. Take a look at the next sentence. If I have slighted the contributions of my many predecessors, let me offer a blanket apology. That's a very interesting sentence. It's a real sentence by Joseph J. Eilis. I don't know, probably this guy is a scientist, right? But take a look. We don't need to know what kind of scientist he is, and we don't need to know what kind of colleagues or predecessors he had, right? We can get the meaning. Take a look. If I have slighted the contributions of my many predecessors, let me offer a blanket apology, right? So it means that apparently he did something that changed the area, and he didn't take into account so much what his predecessors have done. So he has just slighted, right? Let me give you the formal definition. To treat as of small importance, to make light of something. Next one. It is a proper question to ask of an assignment whether some of its parts might be omitted or slighted, right? So I will take a look at the part of the essay and say, no, this part here is not so good. So it's, according to this guys, it's a proper question. I think because if you take a look at your article and you see that a part of your article can be slighted, so you should exclude that part, right? Okay, so let me see if I have anything else. No, I don't think so. So, if you treat somebody slighting, right? So it's a slighting treatment. You are thinking that the person is not a big deal, basically. You are looking down on the person, okay? So a slighting treatment. Why slighting treatment and not slightingly? Because slighting is the adjective, right? Slightingly, remember, we transform an adjective into an adverb. I will try. Let me just take notes here. I will try. to post in the description here a video about the suffix ly, okay? If you don't feel 100% let's say safe using the suffix, please watch the video. I think it would be it's gonna be productive. So again, Mrs. Bennet speaking. I'm astonished, my dear, that you should be so ready to think your own children silly. If I wished to think slightingly of anybody's children, it should not be of my own, however. If my children are silly, I must hope to be always sensible of it. The husband answering, yes, but as it happens, they are all of them very clever. This is the only point I flatter myself, the husband again, this is the only point I flatter myself on which we do not agree. I had hoped that our sentiments coincided in every particular, but I must so far differ from you as to think our two youngest daughters uncommonly foolish. Keep in mind, he's being ironic. Of course he's being ironic. This is the only point, do you really believe that? This is the only point that they differ. I would say that it would be hard to find one point that they have in common. Maybe the only point they have in common, they want the happiness of their kids, you know. But even what would be the happiness of their kids wouldn't coincide so much, right? So of course he's being ironic. My dear Mr. Bennet, you must not accept such girls to have the sense of their father and mother. When they get to our age, I dare say they will not think about officers any more than we do. I remember the time when I liked a red coat myself very well, and indeed so I do still at my heart. And if a smart young colonel with 5,000 or 6,000 a year should want on one of my girls, I shall not say nay to him. And I thought Colonel Forster looked very becoming the other night at Sir William's and his regimentals. Well, I don't know, maybe she has a little bit of a point there, right? Meaning that, look, their children, they're going to grow and they're thinking about marriage, all right? And everybody has to think about marriage, you know. This is the lady's life, right? So it's very understandable that she thinks it's normal to do something of the kind. Keep in mind, becoming is kind of strange here, right? Let me give you the definition. Becoming here is appropriate, suitable, proper. That's one thing. Becoming, because of that, because it's appropriate, suitable, proper, it can be pleasing or attractive to the eye. Okay, pleasing or attractive to the eye. So let me go back there. And if a smart young colonel with 5,000 or 6,000 a year should want one of my girls, I shall not say nay to him. Nay, of course, is no, right? And I thought Colonel Forster looked very becoming, looked very pleasing, looked very attractive the other night at Sir William's in his regimentals in his uniform. So he's saying, no, it's very understanding. She's saying, it's very understanding that the girls are like this, you know. A man in a uniform is something very beautiful. Mama, cried Lydia, my aunt says that Colonel Forster and Captain Carter do not go so often to Miss Watson's as they did when they first came. She sees them now very often standing in Clark's library. So those guys are celebrities, right? So they know every single detail of the guys' lives. Mrs. Bennet was prevented replying, prevented from replying, okay? Stopped from replying, right? Be careful because sometimes collocations are a little bit strange, and then we tend just to keep on reading, but that kind of strangeness makes us feel less confident in the reading of the text, and if we are less confident, we understand less and we remember less. All right, so it's important sometimes to acknowledge yourself, even if it's obvious, right? For example, Mrs. Bennet was prevented replying by the sum, you know. It's important to acknowledge that we would say was prevented from replying, okay, was stopped from replying. When you read Machado de Assis in Portuguese, things like that happen all the time, you know. The prepositions are a little bit strange, the collocation. Well, Mrs. Bennet was prevented replying by the entrance of a footman with a note for Miss Bennet. It came from Netherfield, and the servant waited for an answer. Mrs. Bennet's eyes sparkled with pleasure, and she was eagerly calling out while her daughter read. So she was always, all the time she was calling out what? Well, Jane, who is it from? What is it about? What does he say? Well, Jane, make haste and tell us. Make haste, my love. Make haste, like fast, fast. It is from Miss Bingley, said Jane, and then read it aloud. And then we have the note there. Before we finish this video, keep in mind Netherfield. You have a country called Netherlands, right? Nether is an older way of saying low, okay? Let me see if I have an example. Take a look at the definition in our Quizlet. Located beneath or below, lower or under, the nether regions of the earth, okay? So there is a logic here, you know, Netherfield, right? And then you have Netherlands. Well, I don't know if you are completely okay with footmen, right? I have a very nice picture of a footman. I think this guy is from Cinderella. No, I'm pretty sure he's from Cinderella. Let me give you the formal definition. What is a footman? Is a servant who serves at table or tends the door, you know, like answers the door and etc., and run errands. Errand is a very nice expression, right? Run errand. If you run errands for your mom, you can say it. You go to the supermarket. I used to run a lot of errands for my mom. My mom used to have a second-hand clothing store, and then my mom used to make pickles as well to sell, and she used to make cakes as well. Right, she did a lot of business, and I used to run errands for her. So I would go to somebody's houses and I would pick up some jars, you know. I would go to a client's house to pick up some money. Then of course I would go to the supermarket to buy meat for lunch, you know. And for my father it was the best errands to run, because at that time there was no internet banking, and even the ATM, you know, automated teller machine, were not that popular. So I remember that at first, I think I was like 13, I would have to wait in line to deposit checks, sorry. And my father was used to make furniture. He had a furniture factory, and it was the best because I used to work in the furniture factory with him, and it's very hard work, right? And when he had some errand for me to run, I would have to take the bus, go to the bank, wait in line, and then take the bus back, you know. And it was the best. I remember because it would take me like 2 hours and a half, sometimes 3 hours. And of course I would go very slowly, you know, I would stall a lot. And by the time I came back, I just had like 2 hours to work. Sometimes I got back so close to the 6 o'clock, I would stop working at 6 o'clock, that I would just go to rest directly, and it was so nice. And I remember as well that because the bank was not so far, it's like 3 kilometers, I would walk to there. So I had the advantage of taking more time, and I would get the money of the fare and buy some candy, right? Well, all of that just to explain what is run errands, as I used to run errands for my father.